Welcome to your Admit Triage role. I'm going to run through this Excel spreadsheet that hopefully you already received by email. It may seem a little overwhelming at first, but I promise this should be easier once you understand each of the steps. If you're just starting, I would recommend that you read this instructions for Admit Triage that's listed on this first tab. It'll list what you should do before your shift starts, what you will do during day admit. It also has instructions for swing admit and what they should be doing, as well as night. And then it has some triage expectations that hopefully you can use as you're interacting with the emergency department. Going through this, the first step is actually to read this page. Then I'm hoping for people to take these tests that are located out here that will hopefully help you understand the Admit Triage form better so that you won't have to take much time with this. Ideally, this would only take you 3 minutes or so at the beginning of the day to have a complete understanding of exactly where patients will go over the course of the day, and you won't have to look back at it. This is what a blank form looks like. You will see that it has the list of your teams. It will have a place for you to put in their census. It will make a calculation based on, to tell you what their touch cap, and then we have instructions that you will follow for how to follow that touch cap. So to explain this best, I'm going to go and take test 1. So you will see in the green, it's listing what your instructions are. So you're finding out that purple is the long call team, and it's asking you to fill out the teams. Each of these have a drop down on them. Once you know just what the long call is, you should be able to fill the rest of them in order. So you just follow that down. What you'll notice is as I fill those in, it also has already set my MICU admit order. So at this point, you would enter your census. I put them on here for the sake of the test. And you will see that your touch cap is already calculated for each of them. So you have 5, 2, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, 6. At this point, you're going to set what your gray admit order is so that you know at the beginning of the day exactly what your admit order is. So the distribution of gray takes place in this box on row 24. So you're going to start with number 1, fill down to 6 touches. So all of these are the same. I'm going to check gold, silver, copper. None of them are above 6 touches, so I automatically go to number 2. Number 2 is fill down to 4 touches. I see that purple has room for 5. That means I'm going to make my first team purple. I go to number 3, fill down to 2 touches. That means that red is going to get the next 2. Now I'm at number 4, fill down to 2 touches. Orange already has 2 touches left, so I'm saving those for them to do their own MICU admissions, just like I saved the 4 for purple to be able to do their 4 admissions for long call. Now I've done my 2 to red. I'm going to go to number 5, which is filled down to 0 touches. So blue would get the next 3. Then I fill down to 0 for all the metals. So I could fill this out, hopefully varying the order as I go between days, but gold, silver, copper. And so here I now have up to 12 patients that I can admit from a gray admit order. And I already know my admit order, and this is all I have to do to get started for the day. Then I would just admit from 7 till 11. I would start getting MICU admits, and I would follow this order for handing those out. Red, orange, purple. All of them have room to do that, so I didn't need to make a change. And then at 3 o'clock, I'd be distributing my gray based on this list that I have here for which ones they would go. So in this situation, they're going to tell us that we admit 6 patients between 7 and 4. Where do they go? So the 6 patients that I'm doing for these, I would do purple is going to get 1. Then I'm going to give red 2. Then I'm going to give blue, I'm going to give orange 0. I'm going to give blue up to 3. So in this case, it would be 3. And then I have 1. Oh no, that's it. I just admitted 6. I get 3 MICU transfers. I'm going to do red, orange, red. And so I can put those in here. So red will get 2 and orange will get 1. So I have my admissions for where they were distributed to. I have my gray admit order. I have my MICU order. So everything is filled out on this page, and I can now check with the answers to see if I was right. And so first looking at my order, orange, red, my order of colors here look correct. Then I'm looking at my gray admit order here. So between my test and my answers, I can see those match exactly. Then I'm gonna look at my actual admissions, which would be in this area, to see if I distributed them correctly. And I can see that those are correct as well. When you're actually filling this form out, I would suggest that you start even on the first day by right-clicking and renaming these with the date that you have. So whatever date that you're on these, you can just name each one to go through. You can fill everything in on this sheet once you have it filled out. You can put your patient information, the MRN, what the bed is, who the PCP is, whether this is an ED or an MICU patient. This med consult is just to remind you to ask for a medicine consult order. If they don't have one in, please ask for one before you put in your bed request. If they have an admit or request from many hours ago and there's something that we asked them to do, please ask them to put in a new admit order. Ideally, when you get a consult from the ER, if they need something else, you will drop an ER triage note that would say something like, please consult neurosurgery to rule out whatever intracranial hemorrhage, contact medicine triage after this. Then if neurosurgery recommends an MRI, it's once that MRI is complete that if it was negative and then it's appropriate admission for medicine, then they should re-admit, they should re-put in a consult order at that time. This is just to remind you that you're going to put in a bed request. Then you can list the individual who's doing the admitting. And those are the people that you can list in this box up here just to keep track of how many admissions they're doing. List the initial team, often between 7 a.m. and 3. You're just admitting to gray and being sure to use your gray admitting power during that time. But then when you're distributing, you're going to list what the destination team is. The attending is who actually staffed the patient. Many of the gray ones will be staffed by you, but obviously the MIC will be staffed by someone else. And then just to check that those patients actually got signed out to the correct teams. This order just lists what you'd be doing during these different times. 7 to 11, you're just admitting to gray. 11 to 3, you're using your short call, post long call. If you have a flex person, obviously if you have gray, you'll continue to try to use your gray admitting power when you have it, even if you had nothing else going on and all you got was 2 MICU and you had 2 gray people, likely you would do the MICU transfers with your gray admitting power and give them to the MICU teams that would have been doing them themselves to let them focus on discharges. Between 3 and 6, long call will be admitting and you'll continue to use your gray admitting power. If you have a locums person, you would be having them do admissions during this time as well. Once you hand off to triage at 4 o'clock, between 6 and 7, they should be doing another distribution of gray patients based on actual cap. That information is listed under this swing template. They will put in what the actual census is, the 7 p.m. census, and it will calculate how many patients should go to each of those teams so that they can help distribute those at that time. These are suggested admit orders in here. Some people like to list their attendings and residents for each of the colors for when they're going to be calling people. You can list that information in here as well. And while this graph shows you the admit order in a graphical view, I've also listed out in a narrative just to give the same information. And for those who use the terminology post-post long call, as just to remind that short call equals post-post and post-short call equals pre-long call. I hope that is a good introduction to the ER triage sheet. Obviously, reach out to me at any point during your shift with any questions. I'm modifying this based on any feedback that I get, and I don't mind continuing to make changes. So let us know if you have any feedback on it. And thank you all so much.